Hey, everybody, and to my Seventh day Adventist friends, happy Sabbath to you. I have a couple of emails that I wanted to get back to. One in particular today that kind of discusses two questions in one is the Christian God A Tyrant? And um, if I'm a good person, am I not good enough for heaven? And so let me just read that. Um, I'll call this gentleman L. He says, I'm not religious, but I believe that I'm a good person. I'm no saint, but all in all, I'm a genuine nice guy. Now, your teachings say that even though I'm not a bad person, if I don't give God the love and praise he demands, I will be punished for all eternity. That doesn't sound like a gracious, loving God. Sounds like a tyrant. Yes, you are right, L. Hey, my name is Amy. I have this tiny channel called Ask a Christian where I try to answer whatever questions come in through the church website and through my email, askachristian@gmail.com. Please feel free to send me your questions if you'd like me to tackle something. So let's look at this today. I get this question a lot. It's probably up in the top 10. Hellfire is a question that comes in a lot. And we're really talking about the character of God. If he is this kind of tyrant, nobody's really interested in him anyway. And so, it's a big one. Hellfire is huge. I want to even before I answer this, I want to tell you about a wonderful resource. There's this guy named Edward Fudge. He's done a ton of interviews. There's even a produced movie, I think it's called Hell and Mr. Fudge, that really goes deep into that part of the answer, which I think is ultimately the most important. The other stuff kind of comes out of it. But check that out if you get a chance. And again, thank you for writing. This question does go to the heart of Christianity. And so let me answer the second and third parts of your question first, and then we'll end with the being a good guy part. All right. I want to agree with you. Again, yes, if God were that way, that would be tyrannical, unjust, maniacal. I'm not personally interested in that God. I know a lot of people are because they say God is God, but I'm in a different boat. But here in your question, a lot of people, including yourself, assume that most of Christianity believes that Christianity teaches an eternal burning hellfire, and that is the ultimate end for those who displease God. And you're saying, of course, that's what I've always heard. That may still be the case, but there's a growing number of both scholars and just your average everyday believers who believe that teaching and that standard is wrong, and that we got to that through a misunderstanding early in Christianity. So let me explain that a little bit. This is definitely supported by scholarship. Long story short, eternal torment is not an original teaching of the earliest Christians, or even before that, the Hebrew faith that Christianity came out of. It actually got co-opted from Greek philosophy, as did the concept of an eternal, alive, and sentient soul. And those things really play into this. I know this could get complicated. I'm going to try to keep it easy. But at the end of the 2nd century, Christianity had begun to take the teachings of Jesus, and people who had come out of Greek philosophical background were kind of melding their ideas together. And in particular, this concept that humans have a part of them that is eternal, immortal, and cannot die no matter what. So these ideas came straight from Plato and had been written about by Christians. In particular, there's a guy, Athenagoras, who was a Christian, but was really heavily influenced by Plato. And he started writing about this immortal soul. The immortality of the soul starts to show up in the 2nd century. And he, because of this teaching of the immortality of the soul, coupled with Christianity's belief that there would be some kind of cleansing fire at the end, you start to get that eternal burning in torment. If part of you is alive and on fire, then you're going to have eternal torment. And there are a few verses in the Bible that you would think that. And you're saying, hey, Amy, I've read straight up that this fire cannot be quenched. Look, you are right. I could go into a lengthy Bible study, but I don't think you're interested. A fire that cannot be quenched is not the same as a fire that burns eternally. A fire that cannot be quenched means you are not able to put it out. It burns until the substance is consumed. And honestly, the story's gone long enough already. That's what we're talking about here. Christianity does teach that there's a cleansing fire at the end. We don't even know that, how. We have no idea what span that will be. The word is nebulous, eons, and so it's an indeterminate amount of time determined by other things in the text. Already way too long. Okay, sorry about that. Let's get back to the other part. What the Hebrews taught, just so you know, is that your blueprint, what they would refer to as your soul or your spirit, really is like who you are, the essence of who you are, your blueprint, your makeup, your DNA. That is held by God when you pass away. It's not an alive thing that is conscious and roaming the earth and able to feel pain or suffering. That would have been foreign and distasteful to Hebrews and early Christians. Rather, that God was simply holding on to who you are until he could return the breath and spirit to you. Paul talks about that happening at the second coming. So long story short, again, yada, 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 a lot of Greek words. There's no need to believe in eternal pain, punishment, and torture in being a Christian. So I'm just going to take that part away from your argument. Some people will and do believe that, and they'll think that I'm crazy for my scholarship, but it's a growing number of well thought out arguments against this concept. So the fire is meant to cleanse, not kill and torture. All right, number 2 is much shorter. God does not ever really demand that you praise and love him. I think that concept, you can't have the coercion of hellfire and like an adoration of this being. It's very hard to reconcile those for people like me, at least. And you might be in the same boat. But what we do find in the Bible is that beings that have an encounter with the goodness and grace of Jesus, who says he is an express image of the Father, the Heavenly Father, people who encounter Jesus really like the guy. And people who encounter God in his various forms, even an angel, a messenger from God, do fall down in worship. And it's usually out of awe, occasionally out of fear. Some of those are intertwined, but it doesn't seem like God ever demands it. It seems like it's a natural thing that happens. Worship and praise come in understanding his character, and it doesn't seem like he demands it. So that's part 2. And then let's get to number 1 really quickly here, because I see that the time is ticking away. You say in your email that you're a good, genuinely good and nice guy. And I absolutely believe that you are by any standard. I also believe that there is a long line of people in history who truly believe that they're nice, kind, good people who do horrendous acts. I am not saying that you're one of those people. I'm just saying our ability to judge our goodness and our niceness is really not objective. We wish it were, and I'm not pointing a finger at you. It's just very difficult to get beyond the deceit in our own heart because of our desire to serve ourselves. And so in order to get into the kingdom of God, God's looking for a different standard. He's looking for perfection. And that doesn't even mean that mistakes aren't made. But what it seems to mean is that every opportunity you have to think of someone else first, to have complete other-centered love, to, in your very being, want the best for someone else, even to the detriment of yourself, that's what it takes every single time to be able to go into the kingdom of heaven. Because that would be paradise. And that's, it seems like what God originally intended for humanity and what he wants to bring us back to. So in order for us to be safe to live there, we have to have that standard of perfection. It doesn't mean we'll not have misunderstandings or we won't mess up. But if in our hearts, every thought is continually for the betterment of someone else, it's going to be easy to talk things out, get to the root of the problem, and to make necessary change and reconciliations to relationships. So unless you are that level, to be in a kingdom of perfection where it's always good, always peaceful, always joyous, to have those things that heaven seems to promise, which, by the way, heaven is not a place far from here. It's a place that Jesus came to kick off and say that we have the power to be citizens of that kingdom even now. That if we accept him and follow him and allow his spirit to do work on our hearts, we can actually start that transformation and start living like that now. We won't be perfect, but we will have that heart in us. So anyway, until we are able to do that on our own, we're just not good enough. It's not because we're not this groveling, sad sack of humanity or anything, like some people make it sound like that, but we just are missing the mark. That's what sin means. So thank you so much for your question, Elle. I'll cut it off there. I know that it's kind of long, but God does not want to punish anyone for all of eternity. His goal is primarily reconciliation to other-centered love. And that's what heaven is, whether it's in a far off place eventually or here and now. That's his goal for us. And I can understand why, with what you've heard or learned about Christianity, how God would be not even appealing to pursue. So I hope this helps at least let you know that there is a community of Christians that believe a little bit differently. So that's it for now. Thank you. And I'll get this link to you so you can enjoy. If you are watching this at home and you appreciate it, I would love your subscribe or your help spreading the word about the channel. Just here to answer questions, obviously my perspective, and get into deeper Bible study. If anyone's interested, I do have an upcoming series that I'm going to kind of do a drip course on reading Matthew, the book of Matthew, through Jewish eyes so people can understand the original audience. So that's coming up. You can make sure I have your email address for that invite. Again, email me, askachristianfriend@gmail.com if you have any questions for me. Thanks. Bye for now.